is what it is. So I would want to welcome each and everyone to Synergycon 1.0. So like I said, we have no need to keep you here longer than normal. I see a lot of people who are going to be on the different panels are coming in. So ladies and gentlemen, just to keep things moving right now, please let's put our hands together for Honorable Justice Helen Moronkeji Ogunwumiju, Justice of the Supreme Court, OFR, as she comes on stage to give a keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the Honorable Justice.
I'm going to make a lot of fun about those of us born before 1980. All protocols observed. I'm so very proud and happy to be here this evening, ladies and gentlemen, to share this triumphant and momentous evening with my children, Femi Akimbote and Alex Okusonya. I love being here, surrounded by family, friends, young men and women who are full of energy, and who are ready for a great and career-fulfilling future. I didn't know I would have to talk. I've just been told a couple of days ago. I thought I would come here as a mother. But since I've been sent on this errand by my children, I'm here as a mother, first of all, to appreciate the aspirations and challenges of two young men who have conceived a brilliant idea and who have actualized it. I'm here as a moral and spiritual supporter of young men and women all over Nigeria who think outside the box, who are engaged in all manner of startup businesses and entrepreneurship endeavors bent on making their mark to the end of making the whole Nigeria, and by extension, this our world, a more joyous, vibrant place to live. I have seen the struggle of these two young men. This personify for me at close range, since they have actually lived with me at one time or the other, the struggles, the confusion, the spirituality, the triumphs of most of their generation in Nigeria. They have created FINESA, and it is tagged the framework for brainwork. Iṣẹ́ ọpọlọ in Yoruba. Hausa people will say, Aike kwakwalwa. Tea people will say, Tomu. The Igbos will say, Oruishi. The Efik young man like Nathaniel Bassi will say, my onion utome. At international conferences, when I hear music by my Nigerian children, all artists are my children, by the way, and I always boast to those nearby, particularly if they are not of the Negroid race, and say, Black people, particularly Nigerians, give soul and rhythm to the world. I don't even want to talk about the beautiful, sometimes spectacular, poignant paintings and sculptures. I'm always astonished at the depth of the content creators, our comedians, our actors and actresses, etc. The resilience of the Nigerian, especially the youths, is exceptional. God has really blessed Nigerians. Whatever it is God failed to put in abundance in those of us born prior to 1980, he managed to put in abundance in those born after 1980. It depends on whether you use it for good or bad. Nigeria's evolution from an exporter of agricultural commodities like cocoa, granules, to crude oil, and now entertainment, music, films, and digital content marks a new era of global cultural influence. Just as Bonny Light crude was prized for its high-value distillates and refinery-friendly properties, Nigerian music and artistry is now in high demand worldwide. Our music has found a home in the Americas and Europe, while our films, rooted in tradition and culture, resonate deeply in most of Africa, South America, and the West Indies. Nigeria's creative output has firmly secured its place in the global pop culture. I remember I was on a trip, and I was on a long queue, and there was one tall man with in traditional robes, probably a Nigerian, and I was at the end of the queue. And I was, well, how am I going to make it? And they asked the man, is that your Lolo? You know the Igbo films. Is that your Lolo? Oh, he said, he looked back, saw me, saw that it was, he said, yes, yes, that's my Lolo. So they gave me a pass to pass. That's somewhere in East Africa. So the FINESA initiative, as I'm made to understand, I'm not into tech. I told you, those of us born prior to 1980 is a very long struggle. The initiative seeks to revolutionize resource management in the entertainment industry. But I'm explaining to you my understanding of what they explained to me. You know, I'm a lawyer. I have to be careful. So I'm explaining to you my understanding of what they explained to me. So what I got from it is that it's an initiative seeking to revolutionize resource management in the entertainment industry by building an Uber-like economic ecosystem. You all know the marketing concept of Uber and like products, right? I mean, I assume. You get all the services of a car owner for a minimum fee without actually owning a car. So, every element needed to produce a music, album, film, or concert, studio time, production, marketing, distribution can be quantified, valued, and seamlessly coordinated through an automated system. I am hoping I am right. Okay. So, this ensures that contributors are compensated fairly without requiring upfront capital from the artist. Aspiring Nigerian creatives cannot access the resources they need on demand, transforming raw inspiration into polished, market-ready content without financial barriers. That's, to my simple mind, a very simply brilliant idea. As I've been reiterating, I belong to the pre-1980 model of Nigerians. I have been asked to speak about the jurisprudence of intellectual property. I am determined not to bore you all with legalese. So, I'll run through it very quickly. The FINESA model has decided to use the phrase intellectual property, which is a more modern and broader term. That means protection of creative works. While copyright is a specific type of IP that protects original works of authorship. Copyright is the exclusive right to do or to control or authorize doing of certain acts in relation to the work in which the right subsists. There is no doubt that the increased rate of employment in Nigeria in the last few decades has been a great blessing in disguise. This is so because it has seriously boosted intellectual property, as many Nigerians have discovered their hidden creative talents and are earning a living by creating artistic and intellectual works. Following the creation of these works, reports has been made that these works are being reproduced illegally, which calls naturally for the intervention of the law. Nigeria is a state party to several international conventions, and some of the international laws have been domesticated by the National Assembly. Some of these laws are, I'm sure some other speakers are coming to talk about them in detail. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, copyright, is actually regarded as a fundamental human right. The Rome Convention, the Berne Convention, the Patent Cooperation Treaty of 1970, Universal Copyright Convention. Presently in Nigeria, there are three major laws related to intellectual property. There are the Copyright Act, the Patents and Designs Act, and the Trademarks Act. And the copyright legislation has become the cornerstone for the protection of rights of creators of literary works and other similar works by providing law enforcement agencies as well as the courts with the instruments to deal with violations of the law. Under Section 1 of the Nigerian Copyright Act, the following are eligible for copyright: literary works, which includes, irrespective of literary quality, novels, stories and poetic works, plays, stage directions, film scenarios, broadcasting scripts, choreographic works, computer programs, textbooks, treatises, histories, biographies, essays and articles, letters, reports and memoranda, lectures, addresses and sermons and other similar works. Duration of literary copyright is 70 years after the end of the year when the author died. Musical works, which means any composition, irrespective of the quality of the composition and its musical accompaniment, is and duration of the musical copyright is 70 years after the end of the year when the author died. The sound recording, on the other hand, results from the fixation of a series of musical, spoken or other sounds into a tangible medium that can be played back. The author of the composition is the writer or the lyricist and singer. Author of the sound recording is the composer or the sound engineer, or both. The sound engineers are usually employees of the recording studios who usually came to be the owner of the copyright of the complete work of the lyricist, the singer, and the sound engineer, which is the song as published. This is usually a source of friction between the popular lyricist, singer, and the owner of the recording studio. If the work is made in the course of employment in an organization that issues newspapers, magazines, or other periodicals, copyright belongs to the company that owns the newspaper, unless the contract says otherwise. And as I said earlier, this is always a source of friction between the popular singer and the owner of the recording company, where there's where people like Vanessa is not there to sort them out at the beginning of their relationship. So, in relation to other artistic works, like sculpture and all that, is you cannot copy a sculpture. It's 70 years after the end of the year when the person died, the artist died. The cinematograph works, I have to pronounce that very carefully. It is 50 years after the end of the first year when the film was first published. That's when you can copy it. Sound recording is 50 years. Broadcast, the duration is 50 years. A person can create an intellectual property and register the copyright with the Nigerian Copyright Commission.
by submitting a completed registration form along with 2 copies of the work and evidence of payment of the prescribed fee. Such registrations could be done online or physically at the NCC office. The owner of the creative work may decide to sell it or whatever. The economic proceeds that accrue from the publication and sale of this work belongs jointly to the author and the publisher. Copyright protects the original expression of an idea and not the idea itself. The idea must have been put in a concrete form before you can claim that you have absolute copyright. A person cannot apply for copyright over a painting or a musical recording which is still in his head and is yet to be, which is just, the law regards it just as a figment of his imagination. If, for example, I had a brilliant song, I'd written it out in my head, I had it in my head, and I told my friend about it, and my friend went on to use that song as I explained to him, and the song becomes a hit. Because I'd never written down the song in a concrete form, I have no right. He has absolute right to that song. So, and the 2 special incidents of a copyright is that sufficient effort has been expended on making the work to give it original character, and that the work has been fixed in any definite medium of expression, now known or later to be developed, from which it can be perceived, reproduced, or otherwise communicated, either directly or with the aid of any machine or device or whatever. So, as a copyright owner, you can reproduce your own work, you can publish, you can perform it, in public, you can make whatever it is you want to make out of it. You can also make an adaptation of the work, and it constitutes a violation of copyright for anyone else to do any of these things I've explained above. So, because I'm here to talk to you about the jurisprudence of it all, you know that in Nigeria we delight in illegalities. It gives us special pleasure when we do the wrong thing. I don't know why we are peculiarly like that, but that is the truth. You see that everybody takes pleasure in having it, taking undue advantage. Somebody will get a copy of a film, a Nollywood film, and go to one shack and make thousands of it, and deprive the people who have labored, who have worked so hard to produce the film of the fruits of their labor, as it were. So, in law, we have several remedies for those who breach copyright, and you can have interlocutory injunctions, and you'll be granted pecuniary remedies. There are temporary or permanent anti-pillar orders, marital injunction, or Norwich pharmacal orders. I've promised you that I'm not going to bore you with legalese, so I'm going to skip all that. So, to tell you that a copyright owner must be able to prove that he is the owner of the copyright and the original idea. So, and the courts have made, I went through some of the decisions in court, and I discovered that on several occasions, which are not publicized, the court has given orders destroying thousands and thousands of all these CDs and recordings all over the country. But I guess they just go back and look for another shack and reproduce it all over again. So it's the NCC that is in charge of this type of thing, and they need to up their game. That's just the only comment I can make about that. the Nigerian Copyright Commission need to up their game to protect copyright owners. There are also criminal remedies. They include fines, imprisonment between several months, 6 months, 1 year, even to several years, search and seizure of the pirated goods and products, and destruction of same. And sometimes there's restitution when the method or the replication is of a high quality. The court may decide to make an order of restitution. The seized items will be sold and the money given to the owner of the copyright. So, let's define intellectual property in the creative economy. So, it's a legal framework that protects the creations of the mind, the brain work. We've talked about brain work in as many of the languages in Nigeria that I can easily get. Design, art, inventions, music, brand identities. In the creative industry, IP ensures that creators are recognized, valued, rewarded, and protected against exploitation. The challenges in the creative economy for intellectual property, by IP, I mean intellectual property, is lack of awareness. Many creators are aware of their rights and lose control of their creations and brainwork. Weak enforcement, I've mentioned that already, by NCC. And then the most painful part of it is the one of informal agreements. I always tell everybody the joke. Please, be a bad person so that we don't have more cases in court. Be a bad person. Be a bad friend. You know, in Nigeria, when you want to buy land, the friend of my best friend or the uncle of my best friend promised me that this land is genuine, this house is genuine. You don't do due diligence. I think people have learned their lesson now in the last couple of decades. But in those days, we had unnecessary litigation because people would just say, oh, it is the friend or the father of brother, so. I don't want to say Lagbaja, I'm Yoruba. Lagbaja that took me there, so of course it is all right. And then you end up with a weak agreement that won't stand up in court. And then story continues. So, I think part of the major work of this innovation is to firm up agreements between all the parties involved in the creative endeavor. And part of their work, as I've been told, so I'm going to now repeat what they told me. So what I've been telling you is mine. So I'm going to repeat what they told me now. We started by saying that I'm a lawyer. So I'm not going to say what is not mine so that I won't be accused of copyright infringement. They've told me that Finessa integrates an academic feature that educates creative on their IP rights, the value of their creations, and legal mechanisms for protection. They've told me that they have legal document management, and they have a framework which provides customizable templates for contracts, licenses, NDAs to formalize collaborations and protect ownership. Isn't it wonderful to be a mother? My children are taking care of me. I have 2 bottles of water already. They've told me. Oh, that's the third one. Oh, no, that's the second one. Thank you. They've told me that with Finessa's project and
contract management features, creators can track ownership, collaborations, and revenue sharing agreements, reducing disputes. They've also told me that they promote accountability in IP ownership, which includes the fact that creators can digitalize their agreements and maintain clear records of rights ownership and contributions in collaborations. So I take that to mean that if the sound engineer was supposed to meet with the singer 5 times, right? And he came only twice, he won't be able to claim money for 5 times, right? Okay, I'm getting a nod there. So, promoting accountability in IP ownership. Yes, I've said that. Financial alignment with IP protection. They said they are linking finance tools with IP contracts, ensures that creators receive payments fast based on agreed terms, etc., etc. And that they aim to support collaboration without exploitation. And they mean to impact on policy and the creative economy by being a bridge between IP law and practical application, empowering creators while supporting the enforcement of IP policies. And then also they have a global outlook, and they will try to ensure compliance with international IP treaties, such as the Berne Convention and the TRIPS Agreement, and that they are a legal and business enabler. So, my conclusion, this is me, is by integrating IP jurisprudence into its core functions, this startup not only protects creators, but also fosters innovation and growth in the creative economy. On a final note, I'm about to round up. I'm not going to be one of those lawyers when you give them the mic, they go on and on and on ad nauseum. I will just say enough not to bore you. On a final note, I beg, that's our language in Nigeria, I beg the creative people in Nigeria, whether old or young, try to embrace who you are. Don't be boxed in into doing what my generation wants you to do. I know you have to survive and pay the bills. It is a process to be yourself, to be creative, to build. Please dream to be great. God has not promised that the path would have no challenges. But with God, with consistency, your passion will evolve into your calling, and in time become something that becomes your fortune in joy and financial security. I congratulate Femi Akimbote and Alex Okunsanya, the brilliant, tenacious young men who have conceived this idea of creating and harnessing different aspects of the creative experience into a painless and fruitful one. I also congratulate all the people who have encouraged them along this journey. I also congratulate the parents who are here, Otumba Ejilayo and Mrs. Alaba Akimbote. And we have MS Violet Olaiton Williams here too. Congratulations. I use Femi and Alex to pray that all the creative artists here and everywhere in Nigeria will not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. You will bring forth joy to the world and to your family. Thanks for your time and attention.
Let's put our hands together again for the Honorable Justice Helen Moronkeji, Ogunwumiju. She's left me her iPad.